Welcome to the Rotojoes Fantasy Football Podcast. Guys, it's been a couple weeks. Things go on during the week. Unfortunately, we cannot just live off the Rotojoes money. That is non-existent right now. So, we missed a couple of these betting previews. However, we are back. Before we even start, we are 3 weeks away from this, 2 weeks. So, we'll talk about it every show. Week 8. There will be maybe a betting preview, maybe if it works for your schedule. There will be no love-hate show. We'll be in Vegas. Caden's getting married there. I'll be getting drunk behind him there. My fiance will be there. Fun times are awaiting us. So maybe something week 8, but I could see it going both ways. So after that, that's all sorted out. We know what's going on there. Thursday night football this week. We got a real barn burner after watching an ugly Broncos game last week. We got the Bears hosting the Commanders.
Yeah.
Spread right now is a pick 'em. It's even. It opened up Washington +1. I scooped that shit up real fast. I think Washington wins this game outright. But over-under's 38. Caden, where are you at? I mean, it's a pick 'em, so you just got to pick your winner. But where are you at on the winner? Where are we at over-under?
Here's my piece on these. These are kind of like dumpster fire games. I can't believe this is a primetime game, but here we are. Personally, I'm staying away from even a pick 'em because it's just two really bad teams, and I could really see it going either way. If I had to pick one, it'd probably be the Commanders, but I'm really on that point where I would rather just not. I'd rather avoid that line. Over under 38, I kind of looked at that. I somewhat like the over just because both defenses are so bad. Just very slightly like the over on that one. I think this could be a good game to watch. It's just one that, if you're gonna bet, you're gonna put some money on it, just proceed with caution because these always end up being, higher scoring games than you would imagine for no reason at all.
Yeah. This I feel like bad defense matters more in games like this than bad offense. If both defenses are bad, the offenses will they'll look better than they would against good teams. I mean, we're talking about two teams here that have 3 combined wins. That's terrible.
And I'm surprised it's that high.
I'm surprised. Well, Chicago really should have won, but they got lucky that week 1 monsoon game against the 49ers. It's going to be ugly. Before I even talk about where I'm going, is Antonio Gibson dead? Brian Robinson out-touches him last week. First week back after getting shot in the leg while being robbed. I think Antonio Gibson might be dead. I feel bad for the people that thought he was the next CMC. That was just not happening.
I never was on the bandwagon, and it really didn't help that he had a few productive weeks to the year because those guys came out of the woodwork. And all of a sudden it was, we were right.
No.
I think you were. I bet he still finishes outside of the top 24. It's still going to be a letdown even from where you drafted him in the 7th, 8th round. You took Antonio Gibson over guys like Kareem Hunt, who we know is going to produce at least an RB2 level. So, yeah, I don't think he's dead yet, but stock-wise, if you could get anything substantial at all, I would go ahead and go for it.
I'd take a 23-second, no question. No questions asked right now. It's that bad. So I like the Commanders to win this game. Like I said, I took when I saw the +1 was there. I took that right away. Yeah. I think that Washington is better than Chicago. Chicago is just inept. I'm not sure if Justin Fields sucks. I'm not sure if he's good and the coaching's bad. I don't know what the fuck's going on there. However, Wentz, I have Wentz having a god game this week. It feels like a real Wentz game. I mean, 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, probably a couple picks in there too. But it really feels like a Wentz game to me. The Bears are just not good on both sides of the football. Over under 38. I'm going to go over 38. Like I said, I think this is a Wentz game. I think Wentz is going to look like 2017 Wentz for 1 week before he looks again like 2022 Wentz the next week. Just going to be it might be an entertaining game, but it's going to be a lot of really shitty football both ways.
Yeah, I think it's going to be better to watch than it is for anybody, that has any ties to the game. I think the offense in Washington's not terrible. I mean, it's not good, but it could be worse type of situation. They definitely have pass catching weapons, and if Wentz has a clean pocket, I mean, the guy could look like Aaron Rodgers. That's just the truth. I mean, he can if he has his flashes of brilliance even still, but, ultimately he's not it for Washington. There's a lot of rumble if Justin Fields is it for Chicago, which really he should be. I mean, damn, Daniel Jones got 3 years. Give Justin Fields 3 years. And get rid of – I mean, Eberflus ain't it either. But the problem is right now they got 2 wins when they really shouldn't have, and now they look halfway okay.
I can't believe they have their 2 wins. I can't believe they beat the 49ers week 1 regardless. Before we get into anything else, we should have started off the show with this. Are the Rams dead?
I think so. I have not seen a Super Bowl hangover quite like this one in any season that I can remember. And a lot of it boils down to a poor run game and a poor offensive line. I don't really think the defense has taken a whole. I mean, you can tell Von Miller's not there. That presence is definitely felt. But they don't seem like they've taken as much of a step back as the offense. And honestly, Allen Robinson's there. He's open. He's open a lot. So, yeah, bad offensive line. Cam Akers still isn't good. They can't get the ball to Allen Robinson. He doesn't see anybody that's not Higbee or Kupp.
He's racist.
It might be. Maybe that's why Odell doesn't want to go back.
Yeah, I think that whole development's been odd. I mean, they bring in Allen Robinson on a pretty hefty contract, 3 years, $39 million. I want to say 36 of that was guaranteed. So, I mean, pretty hefty contract for an older receiver. Talk him up all spring, all camp. We get into the season. Week 1 was pretty bad. That was pretty bad. These last 3 or 4 weeks, the man's gotten 5 or 6 targets, but they're all uncatchable. Stafford can't hit him. I don't know what's going on there. I'm not sure if the pocket's just not developing right, if there's not enough time to really find him down the field. I don't know what's going on, but it's not good. I'm really worried about them, and I'm curious to see how Sean McVay is able to respond. They're in desperate need of line help. That's one of the worst lines in football. I mean, week after week after week, they're getting their asses handed to them on the line, and it's just not sustainable. And Stafford's already hurt. I mean, he's already hurt. He's a guy who struggled with injuries in the past. I'm just not. It's probably not a good thing that it's trending in this direction. So, going back to this Washington game, the reason I have Washington to win, and apparently my computer is freezing, so I can't get the exact stats. Washington on defense is 6th in DVOA against the rush. So they have a stout front 7. They have a good defensive line. They're 29th against the pass. I don't think the Bears are going to be able to force them. They're not going to be able to force their hand running the football. It's just not going to happen. I'm curious to see how Chicago plays them offensively. We've seen heavy doses of the run. They've been all right running the ball. But are they going to be able to do it against this front 7? And then on the other side is Wentz going to be able to take what this Eberflus defense is going to give them. I mean, Eberflus's defenses aren't crazy hard to beat. They don't run crazy coverage schemes, but they also aren't going to give up a lot of big plays. And that tends to be what Wentz likes to thrive off of. It's going to be interesting, but I do give the edge to Washington, one of the top passing offenses in the league somehow. Dotson's out, Thomas is out. I don't think that matters much. Might be a Terry McLaurin game finally.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be a run-heavy game on both sides of the ball. Washington, I looked it up, they're allowing 110 yards a game. And, I mean, that's a pretty hefty amount, especially because Chicago's limited passing. They're limited passing, and I really don't understand why, but for whatever reason they are. So I don't look for them to start really going heavy on the pass until, well, I don't even think they really do it when they're behind.
They've thrown it under 100 times in 5 weeks.
That's insane. I mean, you got a top 15 pick at quarterback, one that shouldn't have fell that far, in my opinion. You got to give him a shot. Got to let him do what he's going to do.
Mm-hmm. It's. I don't know if.
I'm kind of starting to think they want, like, this scheme is kind of built around a game manager, and maybe he isn't that.
Yeah, I mean, this is Luke Getsy came over from the Packers with Aaron Rodgers, who isn't a game manager, but he's a pocket passer. So it's not, you wouldn't call him a game manager, but he's able to play in that style and then also take what the defense gives him down the field. I don't know if they just don't trust Fields with that. I'm just not sure what's going on here. And they gave up, I want to say 2 or 3 firsts to move up to grab him. So it's not like they're going to have their first to be able to grab another quarterback anytime, not anytime soon, but in these next couple of years. I don't know why you don't just see what you have in Fields. I mean, I get Montgomery's there. He's a good player. He's not my favorite player of all time, but he's a good player. But I wouldn't be feeding him the way I do. Do you think, or the way they do, do you think Khalil Herbert overtakes Montgomery this year?
It would be hard for him to do if Montgomery remains serviceable. Now, if there's an injury or something, long lasting, absolutely. I think Herbert has earned his work. I mean, he's definitely should have, right? I mean, nothing's to be said about the Chicago Bears, but anybody with eyes can see that he is productive, and you should utilize him. Now, whether they do or not, who knows anymore?
Yeah, I think Herbert's the better back, but their usage for Montgomery is crazy. I bit the bullet. I started Herbert last week in a lot of fantasy leagues thinking he'd get like a little bit of work. No, like 4 carries. It was ridiculous. All right, parlay time. We'll start with yours. You got a plus 900, which is really good odds for something that's mostly likely. Montgomery anytime touchdown. Gibson anytime touchdown. Montgomery over 49 rushing yards. Talk to me about it.
So for me, like I said, limited passing for Chicago. I like them to be very run heavy. That's just the nature of their team. That's what they are. And like you said, they kind of phased out Herbert for whatever reason last week. No one knows why. I don't think it was the right decision, but that's what they did. So anytime touchdown for him and over 49 yards, like I said, they allow 110 a game. I like him to go 50 yards at least, especially against, a defense that's just giving it up to the run. I understand they had Derrick Henry last week or 2 ago, whatever that was. So there's some factors in there, but they're still not very good against the run. Gibson anytime touchdown. That's where this parlay will, in my opinion, either make or break. Gibson seems to get in there sometimes when he shouldn't. Ron Rivera does have some infatuation with him to some extent. I think in his mind, he thinks he's going to be the Black McCaffrey. I think it stays within his own mind. But I could see him falling in the end zone, getting a little bit of work that way. And he also, has the upside to catch the ball too. So an accidental Gibson touchdown just seems very likely to me.
Yeah, I could. That's The Gibson anytime was kind of my hang up, but it's a toss up, especially in a game like a Thursday night game where you just don't know what's going to happen. There are a lot of wacky things that happen Thursday nights, like last week, which was a thing that we all had to watch. I do like that though, especially with plus 900. I think it's a little more likely than mine, and we'll talk about mine here in a second why I say that, but I do like that one. My single game parlay for Thursday night football to plus 1,700 on Barstool. I do most of my stuff through Barstool now just because it's kind of, the tech isn't as good as DraftKings, but I like some of the odds better that they post. I have a Brian Robinson anytime touchdown. Rookie saw more rushes than Gibson by 6. I mean, 9 carries to 3 carries. Brian Robinson to Gibson. This is his first week back after being shot in the leg. So clearly this offensive staff wants to use Robinson as an early down grinder, as a goal line guy. I think we're going to see him really play into that role this week. I think that, like we talked about it earlier, I think Washington's going to have the better offensive game. I think that Brian Robinson's going to get some type of goal line work. Just got to fall in the end zone there. And Montgomery over 2.5 receptions, and Montgomery over 14.5 receiving yards. Montgomery's had both of these, the over 2.5 receptions, over 14.5 receiving yards in 2 out of his 3 games that he's played this year. I look for him to be utilized often against the stout front 7. I don't think they're going to get a lot of actual run game stuff going. I think we'll see a lot of Montgomery in the pass game. He's a quality receiving back, not a great receiving back, but quality. He'll do the job. So I like those 2. I like the Robinson anytime, Montgomery receptions. What I'm not sure about, but I took it before I checked the weather, over 3.5 field goals. My thinking, again, didn't check the weather.
Total game or one team?
Both teams.
Okay.
This is, Barstool always sets this field goal line for every game at 3.5. I've made so much money betting over 3.5 field goals in a game. Thinking here, Washington, not a great offense. The Bears, not a great offense. Defenses aren't great. There'll be some ball movement. I just don't know how many touchdowns are going to be scored. The kicker, 15-mile-per-hour winds tomorrow night. Gusts. That's not crazy. I mean, you can kick in that. But that's a variable. And now maybe that goes down. Maybe that goes up. But for plus 1,700 odds, I put $5 on this, and that's me 90. Fairly likely. So I do like that quite a bit. A lot of it hinges on those field goals and Brian Robinson falling in the end zone. That Montgomery receiving work, I'm pretty comfortable with.
Yeah. So here's something that I've noticed, because, a lot of times when we're cooking up these parlays, I'm honestly on there just tweaking things, seeing what produces the biggest odds. And the second you dip into that kicker category, total points, over under on how many field goals, that's when the odds really start shooting through the roof. So that's kind of an unsung thing about NFL betting is the kickers. If you have a good shot and you crunch the data on that, you get a good idea, man, you can make some serious money. But that one, I like it too. It's got a lot of things going on, but I could see it happening. Montgomery, the only thing that would scare me is the 14 receiving yards, only because they just have such a non-commitment to the pass. I think it could happen, but that would be the one line of that kind of scares me there.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't bet a lot on this game, if I'm being completely honest, because
I wouldn't either.
Kind of a nothing burger to me, but hey, we'll see what happens. So to finish up, we're gonna play this or that. We'll talk about lines, which bet we take. So this or that, we're talking about anytime touchdown scorers here. Terry McLaurin plus 250 or Darnell Mooney plus 310.
Oh, McLaurin.
I actually really like that plus 250. I might have to go hit that up after we get off. That's kind of juicy with no Thomas and no Thomas, no Dotson. I think it might be a McLaurin game this week. All right. Curtis Samuel plus 250 or Justin Fields plus 210.
My heart tells me Justin Fields, but my mind tells me probably Curtis Samuel, just because that's the more likely of the deal. Justin Fields, man, I went into this year and I was like, man, I want him to do the thing. I want him to be the guy. I want a little Kyler out of Justin Fields, and it just ain't fucking happening.
You just don't know whose fault it is either. You just really
No.
don't. All right, last anytime touchdown. We'll move on to different ones. Long shots. I have Cole Kmet plus 480 or J.D. McKissick plus 600.
Oh, McKissick, without question. Cole Kmet, man, that never should have been a thing. And anybody who's still hanging on, I think it's safe to let go.
I have bought into that. Like, he's the second option in this offense narrative. And now he might be. But what we all underestimated is that through 5 weeks, they'd have under 100 passing attempts. The first option doesn't matter. So the second option for damn sure doesn't matter. I mean, you could drop, I think Darnell Mooney in a redraft league
is droppable.
He's droppable. I think Allen Robinson's droppable. I'm holding on just because it hurts my heart. But I think Robinson's semi-droppable if you need the space. So Darnell Mooney, for sure, you could cut bait with him.
I think, you got to think about it relative. You always like to have the number one option in the offense, but in reality, the third option for the Bills is outproducing the first option for the Bears.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'd much rather have Gabe Davis than, or whoever the third guy is. I'm assuming it's Gabe Davis, but whoever that third guy is, I'd much rather.
Shakur.
Mm-hmm. Or Isaiah McKenzie when he's healthy. Yeah, I'd much rather have McKenzie. All right, Brian Robinson over under 48.5 rushing yards.
I'm gonna go over. I think it's a good week for him to really burst on the scene. He's a guy that I liked a lot coming out of college. Didn't really care for his landing spot in the NFL, but a lot of guys are able to make that not matter so much. He's definitely got the capability of doing that. I'm gonna.
Yeah, I'm kind of split. I probably wouldn't put any money on it. I just mentioned it because I thought it was interesting. I'm gonna go. We go under, but I think it's close, like 45 instead of 48. Like somewhere he's 2-3 yards away. Terry McLaurin over under 54.5 receiving yards.
I think this is definitely a week for the over on that. And here's where we all went wrong. That offense, we overestimated how good we thought Carson Wentz was going to be. Terry McLaurin's, draft stock was through the roof. No one even thinking, okay, Curtis Samuel might be a thing. Jahan Dotson's there. There's a lot of competition for targets. Before the injury, Logan Thomas. I mean, that is a pretty decent receiving core, and we just still overestimated Terry McLaurin because he just got paid. He just had a decent season. He's had a couple decent seasons, but we underestimated the competition, so he got overdrafted, and that's just what it is.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how to feel about him going into the year. I was pretty certain I wasn't going to draft him. I just felt like it was a reach. He's capped. I mean, his ceiling's capped. Allen Robinson, all jokes aside, that was a fucking miss so far. However, I'll take that swing and a miss over Terry McLaurin being all right every week because I know what I can do with Allen Robinson. I can cut bait. I can hold and hope it gets better. With McLaurin, you're just kind of stuck in no man's land. You got to probably start him if you drafted him where you had to draft him. And stuck with the bad and stuck with the good. All right, last one. This one's kind of a fun one. I wouldn't bet on it. I'm going to give you five lines. Most rushing yards in the game. David Montgomery, plus 130. Brian Robinson, plus 230. Fields, plus 490. Herbert, plus 800. And then Antonio Gibson, plus 1,200.
Damn. They don't even think Antonio Gibson's gonna suit up, huh? um, for me, I'm gonna go.
I've got a fun answer.
I mean, I'm going to go David Montgomery because that seems the most likely to me. Damn, 1,200.
So if I were seriously looking at this and like, yeah, I'm gonna bet on this, which I probably wouldn't unless I just had some funny money that I was like, if it was like the Super Bowl and I had $100 in my account, I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna bet on like everything just to see what I can get. I'd probably I put $3 or $4 on that Gibson plus 1,200. In the event that he has the hot hand, he could Gibson's the only person out of those five who, in my head, I could be like, yeah, he could rush for 100. But he could also rush for 5, and I'm not surprised with either outcome.
Right.
But at that plus 1,200, I mean, you can bet a little bit, win a lot, whereas Montgomery might break his ankle. Robinson's not guaranteed to get very meaningful work, even though we think he will. I think Fields is a sneaky little play there, too. I like that. I don't think Herbert has much of a shot, but Gibson plus 1,200, that's money. Maybe. But you don't have to put a lot to see.
I mean, we're in a very unique time with running backs. I mean, a lot of these guys, I think both the guys we're talking about are on a contract year. And I think, I mean, do you think we've hit the point where the second contract for a running back's dead?
I think that it's so easy in the NFL to be a league average or close to league average running back that it just shuffles. I don't think a guy like Dalvin Cook's on his second deal, so I'm not. And so is this other guy, but I wouldn't throw even Dalvin Cook in this. Nick Chubb and then Derrick Henry are the two that I think could play in the 3 and 4 contracts. I mean, my take on Henry, until he stops, he might be Adrian Peterson. He might play until he's 40. Now, it doesn't mean he's going to be an RB1 for the next 12 years, but he might toss around the league for like fucking 12 more years, and we're just like talking about this guy 10 years later, like, oh God, he's still in the league. And same with Chubb. Chubb might have that Frank Gore career path where he's relevant for the next 70 years, and then he's still running 4 years after that. So I think those two very well could play for a very long time. Most of these guys, though, shouldn't even give them a second deal.
I mean, this is kind of my thing that I'm noticing. I haven't really seen, you think about, so the ones that come to mind to me are like Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry, McCaffrey, all these guys that got lucrative deals. I think those days are over. Because here's the thing. You just saw the Texans go out and get Dameon Pierce in the 4th round. The talent's out there. I mean, and Dameon Pierce playing in the 4th round, what's his contract value? Like $400,000? I mean, why would you go pay any of those guys?
Khalil Herbert was a 6th round pick.
Yeah, 16 plus, 15 plus million a year. Why would you? When you can just turn around in the next draft, get a guy with fresh legs. Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day, and I'm like, man, I think that time is like running backs just aren't going to get paid.
Phillip Lindsay, undrafted free agent Phillip Lindsay, who has not been able to keep a real role after he left Denver, had 2 1,000-yard rushing seasons.
Yeah, he was good.
To be league average at that position it's not easy. Like, not everyone can do it, but it's much easier than all these other spots where, like, you're not. I mean, I think there's also less separation between the really good and the league average. Whereas, like, in wide receivers, there's a huge gap between Michael Pittman and Marvin Jones Jr. At running back, I mean, what's the real difference between DeAndre Swift and Josh Jacobs? Not very big.
Not very much, and that's kind of my thing. In long term, what I see is, why the hell would anybody want to be a running back? Because in reality, that position takes an ass whooping. It has a very short lifespan, and you're probably not going to get paid. Go learn how to catch the ball and be a receiver, and you'll get paid out the ass.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how that position evolves. And who knows? I mean, this wasn't always an issue, right? In the 90s and the early 2000s, we had guys who played 10 to 12 years and were monsters that whole time. Maybe we're just waiting for a new crop of elite backs. We have Bijan coming, Travion Henderson coming, Blake Corum coming. There's another, I can't remember the last one. There's another rookie that's or freshman that's tearing it up. Can't even remember the school. He plays for Penn State. Singletary's his last name. Those four guys, all waiting in the wings, all look like elite talent. So maybe we're just waiting for that next elite crop of backs. But it's not looking great.
Not looking great at all. But, Bijan, go ahead and book it, 101. Ready to ride, man.
Would you rather have, we'll finish with this. Would you rather have 123 pick? Not specifying when, we're just a hypothetical 23 first, or a 24 first, a 25 first, and a 24 second.
Be honest, man. I don't like getting into too far in the future picks, because here's the deal. You turn around and you have a draft class like the last one, where, all of a sudden you're looking at it. None of the quarterbacks from that class are even rosterable year one. I don't think any of them will really turn into much. Pickett will be a game manager his whole life. Really 2 to 3 running backs that are worth a shit. I think that draft class had some receivers, but it's going to take a long time for those guys to develop at the next level. I really like the 23 class. I'm just going to go out and say that. I'd probably have to err on the side of the 2 firsts and hope they're early, but
I have a take for you. Have you watched much Ohio State?
Not a little bit, but not a whole lot.
You got to reserve judgment then. Travion Henderson is going to be the better NFL back over Bijan Robinson.
Is he the running back for Ohio State?
I think he might be hurt right now, but that boy's nice. He's built like Javonte, but he's explosive.
Explosive like Javonte's knee?
He'll come back. He'll be fine. J.K. Dobbins will look good.
He'll be back in the middle of 23.
Godwin came back six months after that. I mean, not same injury, but a torn ACL. You never know. Guys are coming back quick now. I mean, fuck, James Robinson's coming back all right from an Achilles.
Hey, here's the deal, though. I should start watching some Ohio State, because it looks like we're going to be picking number 1. And C.J. Stroud on the way.
Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud, 101 right now.
Oh, C.J. Easy.
Bryce Young might be Russell Wilson. C.J. Stroud, he's going to be legit.
He's gonna be different. I like C.J. Stroud just because, for one, he's a bigger profile quarterback, bigger frame. I think this year, because I thought it was pretty dead even going into this year, but I think C.J. Stroud's just got better decision making. He's out there making it look easy. You know what I'm saying? And here's the deal. Ohio State and Alabama are pretty notorious for never producing really any quarterbacks worth a shit in the NFL, but I would err on C.J. Stroud this year. I would love for.
My sleeper is Will Levis.
Yeah, he's good too. But I mean, dude, we gotta. I don't know what the fuck we're doing, right? Like, we're not even gonna compete for a playoff spot. Let's just go on, get Stroud. Let's rebuild. Cleveland's sucking pretty good, so that pick's gonna be high. I mean, we got a lot of fucking holes to fill. But if we pick 101, we can't we can't not take a quarterback. I don't hate Davis Mills. I actually really like Davis Mills, but it's kind of this year. It's kind of going to show that he's more. He would probably be a better fit in Chicago than Justin Fields would. I think he fits probably exactly what they want out of Justin Fields. And you're talking a modern day Alex Smith.
Yeah, Mills, I'm kind of upset. I was a little higher on that whole Texans offense than a lot of people. And Pierce, he's paid off. Everyone else, not really.
Well, and Brandon Cooks was underrated so long this year he turned out to be overrated. He's just not getting the ball. Really, Nico Collins is the best receiver on that team right now, and he's not even doing that great. So, I mean, they killed my Brevin Jordan hopes, and I don't know what to do anymore.
Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I mean I'm ready for week 6. I think there's going to be some turnarounds. I think some players are going to come back from the dead. I hope. If I could just stop looking at my fantasy rosters and seeing like Q's and D's and O's, that'd be fucking great.
I have a lot of Keenan Allen. Tell me about it.
Is it the return?
Honestly, here's the deal with that. He's so old. I'd rather, especially in our dynasty league, we're on 5-0 with a God squad. Fucking wrap him in bubble wrap for 5 weeks. Make sure he's all the way healthy. Don't even let if he says it itches, fucking don't let him play that week. I don't care. Wrap him in bubble wrap. Keep the man safe.
They don't give a shit about health because they prop Justin Herbert up, threw his ass back out there too, with a separated rib or whatever the fuck he had.
That was bad.
That was bad, but here's the thing. The Dolphins did Tua even dirtier a week later, so no one at all talks about what the Chargers did. No. And the Chargers are the same team that popped fucking Tyrod's lung that one time. So,
just not good.
Not good, man. I wouldn't want to play for him, but I like Herbert.
All right, guys. We'll see you Saturday night. Mentally, I'm at week 8 already, ready to be in Vegas. Have a good night, guys.